Have you put your self-care on the back burner until you finally replace your salary now that you've gone full-time inside your business? Because this is certainly what I did myself 4 years ago when I set up my very first business and I just quit my corporate job. You know that this is not what you want to do. You want to get back to that feeling of being taken care of feeling fit and strong and healthy. You don't want these aches that are in your neck and these knots that are in your shoulders anymore. You want to feel like things can slow down and you could do those daily meditations, maybe head off on those yoga retreats that you've been lusting after or that you used to regularly do in the past. But once you're an entrepreneur and you're pulled into the overwhelm and there's just so much to do, it's a never ever ever ending task of to-dos, you can really easily get pulled into action mode and go and lots of these do things. This massive masculine action orientated energy can really come to head and really take over. And we can rapidly become addicted to the sense of achievement, the sense of accomplishment, and our sense of self-worth can become attached to making sure like you get things done. So you value doing things and doing tangible things and getting things done much more than you value taking a break and looking after yourself and tuning into yourself. And we rapidly neglect and compromise your level of self-care, your level of self-nurture, which frankly, now more than ever, is the thing that you need because you're building a business. It's not that simple. It's not that straightforward. You're going from being a full-time, safe, stable employee with a stable salary, making this courageous, brave transition where you're going to most likely earn less for a while before you earn more as a full-time entrepreneur and you finally replace your salary. It's going to take time. It's going to take courage to do that. And you need to take care of who you are and yourself. To me, it's like the equivalent of trying to climb Mount Everest. If you're not fit, you're not strong, you don't take care of yourself, you're going to find it really, really hard to reach the peak of Mount Everest. So the major challenge we face when we start to sacrifice our self-care is because we recognize that our time and our money has become more scarce, more valuable. And if we don't prioritize it, we massively risk burning out. And when we're so action orientated, we really focus on all of those action to-dos and activities, and we don't tune into who we are and what we need, things start to become very disconnected and very clunky in not just our business, but in our life as well. Now, as you are working through this transition from becoming a full-time employee to a full-time entrepreneur, this is a massive evolution for you. Massive evolution for you. And it's a really poignant point for you to begin stepping up into your own sense of leadership. So as you're now the CEO, the owner of your own business, the key person who's probably doing absolutely everything inside your business right now, bringing in the money, what would happen if you just don't take enough care of yourself, if you neglect too much of your self-care and you end up burning out? What was going to happen? How is that going to impact your business? How is that going to impact your family? Just take a moment to think about how not investing in yourself, not taking enough time to have the self-care and the self-nurture that you need, take a moment to think about how that is going to impact you in the longer term. Okay. So you've probably noticed, if you look back in the past at your self-care habits before, maybe you've not been somebody who's been that great at self-care, but when self-care has worked for you, it's probably happened because you've physically gone somewhere. So you've physically gone to a Pilates or a spinning class. You've physically gone to get a massage or a facial. You've made an appointment to go and see a therapist or a coach or whatever it is you do that you need for your self-care. What you probably will notice is you've gone somewhere. Someone else has been involved in the process. Maybe someone's come to your house as well. But what you'll notice is there's some external level of accountability, some sort of external level of support that is helping you to make sure that your self-care happens. And this is very normal. So the vast majority of people need this level of external accountability, somebody checking in to make sure you're doing it, or some sort of commitment in yourself to show up because you've promised someone you'll be at that class, or you've already paid for that class that you're going to. So few people are motivated to do these things and disciplined enough to have give themselves enough self-care and self-nurture without any external support. It's very, very rare. So if this is you, it's totally normal. It's exactly what you need. So lean into that. The big challenge we face when we become business owners and we're looking to replace our previous salary is that it's very clear that these classes, these meetings, these appointments, they all cost money and they all take time. So it's absolutely no surprise that they're one of the easiest and quickest and first things that fall by the wayside when we're feeling under pressure because we're not making enough money inside of our business. And especially when we're so focused on doing and ticking things off our to-do list, it can become very, very difficult to justify taking time out as well as the money to invest in our self-care. And it can be difficult to associate the value of our self-care and how that is going to help us achieve our outcome of making the money inside of our business compared to let's just do more inside our business because that will definitely lead to the result we want. So it's a difficult thing to rationalize and balance in our minds. But just remember, as the business owner, as the CEO, as the person doing everything and running everything inside your business, if you don't take care of yourself and you burn out, what impact is that going to have in your business, your family, and inside your life? So today I'm not going to dive into all the benefits of self-care. There are some amazing professionals and service providers out there who can do wonders and help you figure out what is the best self-care for you, how to do it most efficiently, how to fit it into your life. There are some wonderful people out there for that. But what we're going to talk about today is we're going to look at 4 tips that are going to help you shift your mindset so you can confidently feel you can afford to invest in your self-care and how to make this make sure that this is consistent inside your life and how to practically make this consistent inside your life to benefit your business and your life in the future for the long term. So the very first thing we're going to talk about, number 1, is go easy on yourself. Like seriously, just go easy on yourself. Now, most of us wouldn't speak to our own worst enemies the way that we often speak to ourselves inside of our heads. So the tone and the language that we're using and we're saying in our mental chatter is so important. So if you're giving yourself a really hard time right now because you aren't earning the same amount of money that you used to earn, you haven't quite yet replaced your salary, there's a really big difference between using that information that, okay, I've come this far, I've taken a brave, courageous step to do this, to become a business owner. I'm not quite where I want to be. I'm going to use that information to learn from the things that worked, learn from the things that haven't worked, and do something differently. Very big difference from that compared to beating yourself up over the fact that you haven't yet replaced your salary, criticizing yourself for that, recognizing that you aren't making enough money, therefore you don't deserve or you can't afford to invest in yourself and your self-care and your health. They're 2 very different ways to interpret the same situation. So take note of how you're talking to yourself. Which view are you seeing your situation from? And be kind to yourself. Give yourself permission to take time and to need to evolve and learn and adapt throughout this process, and acknowledge that you need to invest in yourself in order to be able to make this happen. So, number 2, decide on how much money you can invest in yourself each and every month. Even if it's just a really small amount, like 10, 20, 30 pounds each and every month. That could easily afford you 2 to 3 exercise classes, if not more, a month, where you would feel like you are giving yourself some love and taking care of yourself and lifting your energy. So whether you've totally cut back, like what I did when I started 4 years ago, I really cut back really hard. I was like, until I earn money, all I'm going to pay for is food, I'm going to pay for food, I'm going to pay for my mortgage, I'm going to pay for my utility bills and my petrol, and everything else is cut. Like, I cut really, really hard, and I felt so deprived and so not valued and taken care of personally because I wasn't looking after myself. So whether you're that extreme, which is something I've evolved from, or whether you just want to start small and you want to invest in yourself a little bit, I would highly recommend setting aside a budget. How much can you afford? How much are you comfortable investing each month? And just make that commitment so you know, and you've already given yourself permission to spend that money in that way. Now, if you don't know how you could even afford 10, 20, 30 quid, what I would recommend you do is hunt through every purse, every handbag, every single pocket of a coat, a jacket, whatever, all your jeans, and see what money you might have lying around, because you'd be surprised how many pound coins, how many notes you've got scattered about your house and your car. And when you put it all together, it could be a nice size chunk of money. And also think about who might owe you money. If you lent money to friends or to family, and you can ask for them to repay you, do any customers owe you money? And you can just today literally send out a reminder to them that they owe you money, it's due, and can they send it through to you? And again, you'll be surprised how much money you find just doing that. And that should be able to fund your a couple of self-care activities for you for the next couple of weeks. Okay, so number three is to think about booking your self-care not just as one-off activities. So often with exercise classes, so you might go to a yoga class and you can easily drop in and pay for that one, and you end up having to decide each and every day, am I going to go to this class? Am I not going to go to this? Can I afford this class? Do I have the time for this class? And you end up in this constant debate, and you're constantly having to choose, and you're constantly feeling guilty about spending the money or making that commitment and questioning if you can afford it. And that's exhausting and it's draining. So one way to minimize the number of times you have to make the choice, minimize the mental stress that you're putting yourself under as to whether, can I afford it, can I not afford it, I don't have time, I don't deserve it, all these things that could be going on in your head, is to commit to going to a course of yoga classes. So for example, I sign up for yoga classes for 6 weeks. So I only have to decide once, and I know I'm going for 6 weeks in a row. I've also recently signed up for an art course. I knew that for me, self-care this year involved becoming more creative and having more creative expression. And I've signed up for 3 months worth of weekly art courses. So how can you minimize the deliberation and the pressure and the stress of can I afford it, can I not afford it? By signing up for things for a longer period of time. It makes things so much less mentally stressful, and it also allows you to plan. You now know it costs you this much each and every month. You know your self-care sort of for the next 2 to 3 months, and you can just relax, and it just happens, and you plan it in your diary in advance and work all your appointments around it. It's prioritizing you and putting you first. And the fourth thing, I can't even count today, the fourth thing is to basically get creative. So if you feel like right now you just don't have enough to pay for anything, or you feel like you've enough to pay for a couple of self-care activities, but you don't have enough to pay for more and you want to do more, you know you need more, there are so many free ways you can do self-care. But the big thing to remember is that the accountability piece is most critical and the most important. So find a friend, find a business friend, a family member, somebody you could maybe on a weekly, on a monthly basis go for a walk with. You can do lots of different things for free. So get really, really creative. Now, we make this a priority inside my community. So inside the Master Your Money Mindset group, which you can hop on over and join, would absolutely love you to be part of that with us, is we make this commitment each and every Sunday. So we share our self-care commitments every single week to keep ourselves accountable. So if that level of accountability is beneficial to you, then you can hop on over there, and that is totally free for you to join in.